Welcome to our exploration of medieval Europe, a fascinating period that's often misunderstood. When we talk about medieval art, we're looking at something truly remarkable: the birth of a new European identity through the fusion of Roman traditions, Germanic cultures, and Christian faith. Think about this moment in history. The Western Roman Empire has collapsed, but its influence hasn't disappeared. Instead, we see it blending with the vibrant cultures of peoples like the Franks, Goths, and Vikings, all unified under the growing influence of Christianity. This cultural mixing pot produced some of the most beautiful and innovative art of the medieval period. Today, we'll explore this fascinating period through four major subsections that show how different cultures and traditions merged to create a distinctly European medieval art. Here are our key terms. This is the list of art pieces we will be exploring. We'll begin here with the Merovingians, Anglo-Saxons, and Vikings, who existed between the 5th and 10th centuries. Characteristics of this period include post-Roman Europe and emerging powers, small-scale personal art objects, cloisonne and zoomorphic designs, and the Sudenhoe ship burial. Here's something spectacular: the Sudenhoe ship burial. Picture this. In 1939, archaeologists in Suffolk, England, uncover a ship burial containing treasures that will make any museum curator's heart race. We're talking about gold belt buckles, silver dishes, and 40 gold coins, all buried with a great lord. This tells us something crucial about early medieval culture. These weren't the Dark Ages as people once believed. These societies had sophisticated metalworking techniques, extensive trade networks, and complex burial rituals that honored their dead with incredible luxury. The term interlace is a pattern in which the interlacements evolve into writhing animal figures. Look at the Merovingian fibulae. These decorated pins were worn by wealthy women to fasten their garments. Notice the intricate cloisonne work where garnets are set into gold cells. This technique creates an effect that's almost like a cross between mosaic and stained glass. The geometric patterns and interlacing designs you see here will become signature elements of medieval art. The term heraldic pose refers to something that is symmetrical on both sides. The word cloisonne is a decorative metalwork technique employing cloisons, also decorative brickwork in later Byzantine art. These are thin strips of metal called cloisons. They're soldered onto a metal surface to create compartments, which are then filled with the colored materials. Now, when most people think of Vikings, they picture raiders and warriors. But look at this wooden portal from the Staff Church at Ernez in Norway. This isn't the work of barbarians. This is sophisticated artistic expression. The intertwining animal and plant decorations show us the Viking artistic tradition at its finest. These staffs, known as wedge-shaped timbers, placed vertically, create a distinctly Scandinavian architectural form. But notice how the decoration incorporates both traditional Viking motifs and Christian symbolism. This is cultural fusion in action. Now, let's look at the Hiberno-Saxon monasteries between the 6th and 10th centuries. Their characteristics include monastic manuscript production. There was the Book of Kells and Lindisfarne Gospels. We see carpet pages and pure embellishment and fusion of local and Christian styles. Here's where things get really exciting for art historians. Before the printing press in the 15th century, every book was hand copied and decorated by scribes and artists in monasteries. These weren't just books, they were works of art. Let me explain the different types of medieval books you'll encounter. The Gospels contain the good news of the New Testament, the life, death, and resurrection of Christ as told by the four evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Psalters collected the 150 Psalms of King David. Then you had specialized books like lectionaries for priests to read during Mass and the Book of Hours for private devotion. Now we come to one of the most remarkable artistic achievements of the early medieval period: the illuminated manuscripts of Irish and Anglo-Saxon monasteries. The term Hiberno-Saxon combines Hibernia, the Roman name for Ireland, with Saxon for the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms of England. Look at the Lindisfarne Gospels. This cross-inscribed carpet page is absolutely mesmerizing. The serpentine interlacements create an effect of motion and change, yet everything remains perfectly controlled. It's like looking at a maze that vibrates with spiritual energy. This maze-like complexity wasn't just decoration. It was meditation made visible. The carpet pages, full pages devoted to pure ornamental design, were meant to prepare the reader spiritually before encountering the sacred text. They combine the abstract, geometric traditions of Northern European art with Christian imagery from Italy and Byzantium. Now enter Charlemagne, known as Charles the Great. When he was crowned Holy Roman Emperor on Christmas Day 800, he didn't just want political power. He wanted to revive the cultural glory of ancient Rome. This is what we call the Carolingian Renaissance. It lasted between 768 to 877. So we see Charlemagne in the revival of Roman ideals, classical influence in manuscripts, imperial iconography, and architecture and liturgical focus. Look at this portrait of St. Matthew from the Coronation Gospels. Notice anything familiar? There are some classical references, like the drapery, the illusionistic brushwork, and the Roman-style chair and lectern. Charlemagne's artists were deliberately evoking Greco-Roman author portraits. This wasn't copying, this was claiming cultural inheritance. But here's what's fascinating. Compare this to the Igbo Gospels version of St. Matthew. Same subject, completely different approach. The Igbo Gospels show energetic, almost frantic brushwork. The figure seems to vibrate with divine inspiration. This shows us that Carolingian art wasn't monolithic. There was room for different interpretations and styles. The monastery wasn't just a place where monks lived, it was a complete spiritual community. Look at this schematic plan from St. Gall. It's like a blueprint for the ideal monastic city, with everything planned according to the Benedictine rule. The church is at the center, surrounded by the cloister, where monks could walk in contemplative silence. You've got the scriptorium, where manuscripts were copied, the dormitory, the refectory for meals. Every aspect of monastic life was carefully organized to support spiritual growth and learning. Charlemagne's palace chapel at Aachen represents his imperial ambitions perfectly. Based on San Vitale in Ravenna, it combines Byzantine architectural concepts with Frankish imperial needs, creating a space where the emperor could participate in religious services while asserting his divine authority. After the Carolingian Empire fragmented, the Saxon line of German emperors, the Ottonians, picked up the torch. They preserved and enriched Carolingian culture while adding their own innovations. Their empire existed between 919 to 1024. Characteristics included a continuation of the Carolingian legacy, emphasis on narrative sculpture. We have Westwork and alternative support systems, and Christian symbolism and political power. Look at St. Cyriacus in Genrod. This church introduced several features that would become standard in Romanesque architecture. The gallery between the ground floor arcade and the clerestory, and the alternative support system where heavy square piers alternate with columns. The Ottonian emperors also commissioned magnificent works like the Gero crucifix in the Cologne Cathedral. This isn't the triumphant Christ we see in earlier Christian art. This is a suffering human being. The worshiper can see and sense his pain, making the divine sacrifice more emotionally immediate. The bronze doors at Hildesheim Cathedral show us Ottonian narrative art at its finest. Each door was cast in a single piece, an incredible technical achievement. Monks would see these biblical scenes every time they entered the church. The left door shows the creation of Eve and the murder of Abel, while the right door depicts the annunciation of Christ's appearance to Mary after the resurrection. It's a complete visual theology of original sin and ultimate redemption. Imperial manuscripts like the Gospel Book of Otto III show the fusion of different artistic traditions. You see the gold background of Byzantine art combined with the narrative energy of Carolingian traditions. The emperor appears not just as a political ruler, but as God's representative on earth. The marriage of Otto II to the Byzantine princess, Theophanu, brought Eastern influences directly into the Ottonian court. This ivory plaque showing Christ blessing the imperial couple demonstrates how political alliances could create artistic fusion. Here, we see Byzantine carving techniques applied to Western imperial propaganda. If you're interested in learning more about the Dark Ages, here's a crash course world history video link. What makes early medieval European art so compelling is how it represents a living synthesis. It's not just Germanic, not just Roman, not just Christian. It's all of these traditions speaking to each other and creating something entirely new. From the cloisonne jewelry of Merovingian queens to the illuminated manuscripts of Irish monks, from Charlemagne's classical revival to the innovative architecture of the Ottonians, we see artists and patrons creating a new European identity. This art tells us that the so-called Dark Ages were actually a period of remarkable creativity and cultural fusion. These works weren't just beautiful objects. They were statements of faith, power, and cultural identity that helped shape the Europe we know today.